morning, everybody. I want to thank you all very much for coming. This is a day we're going to celebrate our Victorian Fair in a little while. But as we all know, 21 years ago, we faced what was really an unprecedented attack in Washington and New York City. And of course, one plane that was headed to Washington, but the passengers of that flight, civilian heroes, made sure that flight didn't make it to its intended target. Now, it was a hard day, obviously, for everyone, and it really shook our faith, I think both our spiritual faith and our faith in democracy. But the days after that attack were some of the best days in certain respects in this country, because folks came together. And I think we recognize that the victims of that attack were not just military or just business people. It was native-born Americans, people of every religion, every faith, every nationality, immigrants, citizens, that were all just living their lives. And we'll never get that back, right? Those folks, those families, folks that lost their loved ones, that day froze them in time. And I think in particular today, as I think a lot of us do, of Ray Rocha, young kid, just about from Melrose, recent grad, working at Cantor Fitzgerald, up on one of the top floors of the World Trade Center. And I think about some of the kids in our high school class that go to the football games or go to the middle school, high school campus, and they see Ray's jersey up on the wall outside the gym, near the football field. And they don't really know who Ray is. They know there's a number. We teach them what happened, but they don't know. They probably think Ray's a football player because of the jersey, which was true, but they don't know he was a son. They don't know probably what he did for a living, and they really don't know that sense of loss. He is a symbol, as are all the folks that we lost on that day, and we need to remember them. And remember and promise ourselves that what we saw in those days after is the best of us, and it's really what we need to look to today, because I think we're at a crossroads, and if we can tap that feeling, if we can tap that sense of unity, of togetherness, of the fact that the things that bring us together as a country, as a people, are so much bigger than what might divide us. And with that, I'd like to have a moment of silence. If someone could tell me exactly what time it is. 9:04. Well, my apologies, because we picked 9:03 because that is when the second tower was hit. If you could all pause for a moment of silence in remembrance of those we lost. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'd like to acknowledge the folks that serve us every day, Melrose Police, Melrose Fire, who are here today to join us. And I also want to recognize several elected officials, former Mayor Inferna, and members of the clergy.
I'm Pastor Taryn Tuckett. I am the pastor at First Baptist Church. And as I remember that day, I remember the coming together that took place within our communities. And so during that time at the church I was in there, one of our church members was in one of the planes. And it felt very close to home. But in the midst of that pain, we as a community came together, and certainly we as a nation came together. And as I think of where we are now in our world, I certainly don't look back longingly upon the harm that was done, but I do look back with fondness on the way that we said we can work together. Whatever our differences might be, whatever things about the other person that maybe we don't like as much as some things, but we said for the common good, we can come together. It reminds me of the words of Jesus as he is teaching his disciples. He has one of his very Jesus teachings, and he says, pray for your enemies. Pray for the people that you don't like. The people that you think you're opposed to, pray for them. And then he also reminds us that God sends the rain down on the righteous and the unrighteous. That we have a God who shows love to all. In the same way, let us be people who show love to others. Let us be people who lead with kindness. And when there's someone you don't like, they hold a position you don't agree with, perhaps you would even label them evil, I encourage you to pray for them. Let me give us a moment now and let us quietly reflect upon the words that you have heard here this morning.
Thank you very much, Pastor. This will end the ceremony. I would ask this, though, in the spirit of what we talked about today, maybe before you step away, if you see someone that you don't know, that you don't recognize, or that you're just not familiar with, and the same thing if you happen to visit the fair today, say hello. Ask them a question about what they're, why they're at the fair, what moved them to stop by here today, and connect with them a little bit. I think that is a terrific good step towards getting back to that place of healing and community that we had in those days after the attack. I want to thank you all for coming.